Good afternoon, everyone. Are we functioning here? In the room? I know we are. Okay, great. Great. Good afternoon. I'm Joan Farini Mundy. I'm the president of the University of Maine and our regional campus, the University of Maine at Machias. Welcome, Black Bears and friends of Black Bears. This town hall event this afternoon will involve several of my colleagues who will be here to speak with us about a number of issues and topics, and I look forward to a rich conversation here. We have several folks in the room, and we know that we are seeing people joining online. We will do our best to manage questions both in the room and from the online audience, and we have several different focus topics for today. But first, what I'd like to do is, well, I'm not sure this is going to work. I'll tell you who our panelists are, and then as they speak, they'll come up here and introduce themselves more fully. But you will be able to hear this afternoon from Heather Ball, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Interim Dean for the campus at the University of Maine at Machias. And Heather may be, oh, she's here, right here. If we have questions for Heather, she's available. Robert Dana, Vice President for Student Life and Inclusive Excellence and Dean of Students. Samantha Hegman-Wary, Interim Director of Athletics, will be online and available. Norm Jones, Interim Vice President for Enrollment Management. Nicole Lawrence, Interim President of Human Resources. Jeffrey Mills, President and CEO of the Humane Foundation. Kelly Sparks, Vice President for Finance and Administration and Chief Business Officer, and Cody Vararamian. So we will call on folks as we need to. Jake Ward, also Vice President for Innovation and Economic Development, and Meredith Whitfield, Chief of Staff. So those are folks who are either available to us in the room or who can be made available online as we need to. We have a lot of topics today, but I want to open with some general comments before we begin. First of all, to take note of the snow. Seems that we should do that. I did read or heard news in Portland the other day when I was working there that they were reporting plowable snow somewhere up in the county, and I'm not sure that ours qualifies as plowable yet. So that's that. This is our second town hall this semester as we are navigating a post-pandemic or sort of post-pandemic, because the effects of the pandemic stay with us now as we've all lived it. But the first sort of semester that is close in style and format to what was typical before the pandemic. Maybe that's the way to say it. And yet, I don't know about all of you, but as I've reflected on what that's been like, getting back in September and being ready to go and feeling finally like we're here and we're together and things are kind of back the way they were. Now, as we come up on Thanksgiving and look back on the past several weeks, it feels a little bit in some ways like a massive change of activity, a high level of activity and engagement, because everybody tried to be really back at full speed, at full strength as soon as they were back in. And I think we have to give ourselves credit for recognizing maybe that now at this point, that takes a toll on folks, that everybody is now still coping with the effects of the pandemic and how we come back together and trying to do everything at full speed, much as we did before. And so I want to thank everybody for their efforts, for their caring, and for their concern. The theme today, some of the theme today will be about change, which is, of course, always the norm in universities. The people who are here with us are changing and moving through our academic programs, and everything else about universities is about focusing toward the future and doing the very best that we can for our students who come here to learn with us. So a goal, and I just want to make this point here at the beginning, and from everyone from whom you'll hear today, we are about making the University of Maine and the University of Maine at Machias the best possible places. We have so much to celebrate, so much excellence going on here. But today we will also focus on challenges that we face together, including fairly serious budget issues that we see here in the midst of fiscal year 2023. And I'll come back to this idea, but I'm very optimistic that we will be able to work together as a community to address our challenges, to bring good ideas to one another, to critique one another's ideas as we seek solutions, and to do what we always do, which is care about each other, care about our students, care about the University of Maine. So with that as a bit of a preface, I will now, let's see, what's next in the script. I am going to turn to Kelly Sparks. I first want to remind you that if you have questions, we're monitoring the email address umaine.alerts@maine.edu. We'll answer as many as we can today as time allows. So send them in as we go and we'll keep an eye on that. And if there are questions that we can't get to today or where we need more information, we'll get back to you. So let's keep that in mind. So the first speaker with us today will be our still very new, how many weeks, Kelly, have you been here? 4. Okay, so highly experienced, very familiar with the University of Maine and all of its complexities. Kelly Sparks, who is our Vice President for Finance and Administration and our Chief Business Officer. And she is going to talk with you about the Sodexo announcement that many of you saw this morning.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me here? I have sometimes a soft voice and I'm tall, so the microphones can be far away from me. So hi, my name is Kelly Sparks and hello, Black Bears. I'm thrilled to be here at the University of Maine. This is my first opportunity to get to speak with you all personally, and I'm looking forward to the work that we do together. So I'd like to share a little bit about today. I hope that many of you read an announcement that went out that we are exploring dining services options with Sodexo. We are looking forward to continuing to serve our students in the high quality way, but being able to expand potentially some of those services through a partnership with Sodexo. So really our emphasis or our priority in this partnership is service opportunities for our student population. But as we do this, it's very important that we collaborate with the bargaining units during this process to ensure the best possible outcomes for all of our employees. I want to acknowledge that this is a hard time. It's a hard transition, and we are here to support our employees through this process. But what might this expansion be? What might it mean for our students? It will definitely mean capital investment in our physical infrastructure. So potentially new furniture, new paint, a refreshing of our equipment and our environment to better welcome and serve, be more inclusive in the spaces that we have for our student population. Those investments will come hypothetically in the next 1 to 3 years. We also hope that through this partnership, we will address some of our staffing issues. Our frontline dining staff have been working incredibly hard through the pandemic. As we come out of the pandemic, we have been understaffed. They've been working lots of overtime, lots of long hours. They've done an incredible job of keeping our venues open and operating. Due to some of those staffing issues, we've had to close a couple of our venues, including the Oaks Room and Wells Dining Hall. And we hope that through a partnership with Sodexo that we can consider how we might bring some of those venues back online. We'll also look at hours of operation and how and many hours we have to serve so that we can have coffee for those late night study hours for our students on campus. Through our partnership with Sodexo, we'll also be looking at national purchasing power of our cost of goods. So our raw materials, our food purchases. I think we all know from our personal pocketbooks have been impacted through inflation every time we go to the grocery store. The same scenario applies to all of UMaine's purchasing of our food to prepare meals for our students. So through some national purchasing power, we hope to bring down those costs while continuing to focus on sustainability, our local sourcing, and food insecurity. So how can we use that to help mitigate cost increases of our food in a partnership with Sodexo? But this process is very much in the infancy stage. We're just starting to talk through what it looks like, and we would like to invite you to participate with us in this conversation. The week of November 21st, we'll be going out with some broad announcements and inviting you to help tell us who, if you're interested in being involved in any part of this conversation. We'll be putting together both a food steering committee amongst our student population and our staff, as well as doing focus groups, walks around campus, understanding how the environment impacts us. So we invite you to look out for those invitations and to join us in the conversation to form what the partnership with Sodexo looks like going forward. I am going to now turn it over to Vice President Dana to talk about Maine Day.
Remind them about questions.
Oh, and questions, we are receiving questions through, the website name is, or the email address is UMaine alerts at maine.edu. If you want to send us your questions, we'll be monitoring those throughout throughout the presentation. Thank you.
I speak loud and I'm short, so we're going to move this down anyway. Thank you, Kelly. So Maine Day is on the minds of perhaps some of you, many of our students. Where's the slides here? Or down arrow. All right. Pull that down. You're very reminiscent of the last time I was in a classroom. Thank you, Professor. The Maine Day is a long history. I'm sure that many of you know about it and participate in it. It's been with us since, as you see here, 1935. It's a day historically thought of as a day of service to the campus, a day where people began the process of headed towards finals, stopping what they're doing, thinking about each other, thinking about the campus. And for many, many years, it was very fruitful. In the last many years, 6 or 7 years, we've lost some of the focus on service, and some of the very, very large parties that you've heard about have begun to take root. So many of our students do exactly what's expected of them and what works for the campus, but many also spend time in very high risk, dangerous party situations. So because of that, there's been a legitimate call to action of us by many people across the campus wanting to know what we were going to do about this to not foment these sort of parties. So we did take an initial look at this. The president and her cabinet have discussed this at great length. We've talked to students, many other constituents, and recently we went to the faculty to Senate to have the discussion. The president has announced an advisory task force on this question. I think that the membership's being formed today and tomorrow. So that'll be happening soon. Jeff Hecker, known to many of you, is a professor of psychology and the former provost here. He will be the chair, but we'll have people representing the entire campus on the Maine Day rebranding committee. That is, what do we want it to be? How do we want it to be? How can we increase service and reduce risk? So those recommendations will be forthcoming very soon, because faculty, of course, will have to plan for next semester. Were classes canceled, or were they not to be canceled? So we will stand by, be prepared for that. Students have engaged in this discussion very effectively. They have assured us already that they're interested in enhancing the service opportunities. And for those students we've spoken to, they appreciate the risk factors that are involved, and they want to reduce those too. So thank you very much. And I think I can now turn it to Norm. Maybe I should introduce you. Okay, that's Norman Jones.
Thank you, Robert. I am tall and loud. So let me first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak to you. And I want to say what a wonderful place this is. I've been here now 5 weeks, and the sense of place that I see is exciting. It's exciting to talk about. It's exciting to represent from the enrollment standpoint. And I have met with a lot of the deans, students across this campus, and you have a wonderful story. We're trying to tell that story in the enrollment office, not only at the University of Maine, but the University of Maine-Machias. And while we had this one dip, and we will show that now, I think, down arrow, okay. So you can see in the fall of 22, we had a little dip in our enrollment, much of which was the first year students. Some of that was the lack of yield. And what I'm talking about there, and that is confirming those students who were accepted to get them in that first day of class. The yield dropped almost 2 percentage points. That's about 300 students. What we're trying to do now is address that for the fall of 23. We are basically, I'm an O athlete now. We're full court pressing this idea of connecting our accepted students with our academic departments. We'll talk a little bit about some of the initiatives now, but I will tell you the visibility of this institution is strong. The state's visibility. I'm from Florida. Everybody knows about Maine. And I think the institution has a wonderful story that we're going to try to reach out in this next year and to set into practice plans for the future of 24 and 25 that I think will be very helpful in strategically organizing the plan of recruitment. That's the wrong button. No, it didn't. That's right. Okay. So you can see the difference between the last couple of years. Now, the incoming freshman class, the first year class from 22-25 to 1878, I see that discrepancy. And the last 10 years, it's been somewhat flat. And here again, this is the relationship to a year where everybody wanted to leave home and go to college. This happens in every place that I've seen. Now, I've been on a lot of campuses in my career. I'm retired. I'm here as an interim vice president for enrollment to try to apply best practices. And when I look at that number obviously is an effect of lack of yield. We in this office and enrollment offices, not only here at in Orono, but also in Machias, are really focused on trying to connect our accepted students to increase that yield. Here's a slide for the University of Maine Machias. You can see the drop in the incoming freshmen there. I will tell you, right now, we are pacing the last 3 years high here. University of Maine in Machias is like 50% up in applications in first year and also 50+% in their transfer. They are rocking it in that office in terms of connecting with young people. Here's a slide for the graduate, as well as the retention from prior years. I know Kelly will probably talk about this. Enrollment management is not just recruiting, it's about retention. Everybody has the ability to retain students. Retention means people. It means the connections that students make. Students stay at institutions because of relationships. And I know Robert knows this. And there's a lot of people involved in that conversation. So if we lift that boat of retention and also recruitment, there's a lot of excitement that can happen with the two of those. I've listed 2 or 3 things here that I want to talk about briefly, very briefly, because there's a lot of things that is happening here. One of the things we're trying to trigger in my conversations with deans is in the spring is to actually create digital conversations with students around an academic program. That hasn't happened necessarily in an intentional way. So we're creating those now. In fact, had a great meeting with marketing today, saw some 20, 30-second videos of our own student talking about their experience here at UMaine and UMaine Machias. It's about the feel, it's about the sense of place, and it's about the success that you're seeing in students. So we're establishing that, increasing the efforts to deliver applicants and their decisions. I've got staff over there right now, they're probably listening to me, they're accepting students. In fact, we will probably clear over 2,000 today for the fall of 23. I was just informed with a text that we're probably, University of Maine and University of Maine Machias, we're the only institutions in the state with letters in the mailboxes of students with their aid packages, which refers to the last column in terms of getting financial aid out. That's the one big questions family asks. How much is it going to cost? And this, Connie and her staff in the financial aid office is doing a phenomenal job putting that together. One of the things we're developing that we will trigger this spring, and that is, excuse me, that is a social media strategy surrounding the yield for accepted students. We know this is the sandbox that Gen Zs live in and play in. We've got to do a better job in actually strategically creating a social media plan. I look forward to questions later. And now I am to turn to Kelly again, our CFO, Kelly Sparks. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Norm. So what I want to do is take this enrollment conversation and turn it a little bit to what's happening with our budget. So our original budget was approved by the FFT, or the Finance and Facilities and Technology Committee of the Board of Trustees, this last year. And part of that budget was a strategic use of reserves to balance it. But there's a couple of things that I think are really important for us to understand in the budget. It's just under $400 million, so 394.7 million in planned expenses. Of that, 53% of our budget is from revenues that are tuition and fees. Okay, so our tuition and fee dollars, we want to be really responsible for that. We have not raised tuition for our students over the last couple of years. So that's a really important for our students, and important to note from a budgetary standpoint. 49% of our expenses are in personnel expenses, including compensation and benefits. We have had salary increases. That's also great to retain our high quality faculty and staff across campus. But as one number is going up and one number is remaining relatively flat, we start to come to kind of a budget crossroads, if you will. We've known this. There's lots of good work that's been happening over campus for the last couple of years to understand these budgetary gaps. And we very intentionally planned for a strategic use of reserves to balance the budget. That was planned for and communicated to the Board of Trustees earlier this year. This was based on healthy reserves. So I do want to call out that while I'm going to talk a little bit about the budget gap that we do have healthy reserves. We have two numbers in that. You'll note in FY21, so we're at FY23 this year. For people who don't talk in fiscal years, I live in fiscal year. Sometimes I forget the actual calendar year because of that. We're in fiscal year 23 right now. So this is as we ended this last year on June 30th, we ended with reserves in the amount of almost $86 million. Of those, 34 were unrestricted. They were E&G reserves that can be used for any purpose. E&G reserve. Oh, E&G, education and general fund reserves. So education and general fund reserves, funds that we can use for any of our academic purposes, teaching, research, staff, those things that we do to run and meet the academic mission of our students. We then had $68.1 million in designated reserves. Now, when I say designated, that can be, I want to tell you a little bit about what's in that number. It's a pretty big number at 68.1 million. So that includes projects. So planned projects we have for capital projects. We've put money aside with the intention that we're going to do that work either this year or at another point in time. So there's all sorts of these little buckets. It's grown over the last year by what you can see is almost $16 million. That's a number we really need to dive into. It's a number that's really important to us. How can we strategically leverage some of those funds to help us offset some of the tuition increases or the tuition decrease that we're seeing in terms of our revenues this year, okay? So what does this mean? Due to the lower enrollment, we have an additional and significant budget gap. We are going into this year, so if we have about a $400 million base in operating expenses, we're looking to reduce that operating base between 3.5% and 4% this year. If we think about inflation being at 8%, maybe that number doesn't feel so bad to us, but it is real dollars and it is significant. We as a community are going to have to come together to make this work. I am a little bit asking you to count paper clips at this point. This doesn't, however, mean layoffs. It doesn't mean furloughs. It doesn't mean wild scale, scary changes like that. It means that we have to surgically remove some of the expenses from our current budget while we're in the middle of the year and work together to get us to the end game. We'll be focused on revenue enhancements. So revenue enhancements are things like our fees. How do we charge ourselves for things? Returned overhead for our research faculty out there. Can you offset some of your own compensation by putting yourself on a grant? Maybe. It's a big ask, I know that. Can we also think about spending those dollars this year so that we're increasing our indirect cost return this year, and that can be leveraged as an E&G offset. We'll also be looking at position vacancies. We know we have a lot of hard to fill positions. That doesn't mean they're not valuable positions, but it means there's a vacancy right now. How might we hold, delay, wait, or not replace some positions that have been out there? How can we think about where we very intentionally or very strategically, where we have the highest need in our organization, replace those positions? It doesn't mean all of them go away. It does mean some of them will go away. And I know that when we're working really hard and someone who sat across from you was doing the work next to you, and you think maybe you're not going to have that colleague or that workload, it does impact you personally. When we see faculty retirements, we think about the courses that they were teaching or the impact that they had on our departments. There's a real impact. But I want to go back to the fact that we have this significant budget gap. So we're going to have to make some of these hard choices. Direct operating expenses. Can we look at our travel, our purchasing, our contracts? Are we buying the same thing as another department across campus? Can we leverage a shared contract? Can we maybe reduce some of our travel? Can we consider doing more online interactions with other folks or professional development? What are the things that what choices can we personally make? And what choices will we have to make from an institutional policy perspective to drive down our direct operating expenses? And then strategic use of reserves. If I go back to that number on the last slide that was increasing, how do we leverage some of those reserves now to get us through one time, but also very intentionally so that we're creating opportunities for the institution going forward? So this isn't about reducing our budget so that we're harming ourselves going forward. We really want to make investments where there are priorities and where it's important. We want to continue to grow. We're an R1 institution. We have a D1 athletics program. We have incredibly high quality academic programs. We want to continue to invest in that. We need to do right by our students, but we also have to think maybe about how we allocate some of our funds differently going forward. Timeline. So as Joan mentioned, President Farini Monday at the beginning of the call, I'm new. I've been here for 4 weeks. I feel like right now I'm pulling them rocks in the stream. I'm looking to see where the budget buckets are and what's in them. So I appreciate the additional time that's been provided to the university. We have a very complex budget. We have made lots of commitments. Everybody is managing their dollars in the way that we've asked them to. We're very responsible with that. So as we look for budget reductions, it's not easy. It will be hard pressed on all of us to achieve these goals. So we've been in an evaluation process, uncovering where we have opportunity, and we'll keep doing that up until the day that we submit our revised budget to the board or to the FFT. We will be estimating both the budget savings and identifying sources really from here until the beginning of December. We don't have all of that information yet, so we're working really hard to look and where those sources are. And then I'll go back to that designated reserves. What opportunities do we have in that pool of funding? In early December, we'll be asking for revised budgets, and we'll be going through an interactive process to set those up with each of our administrative units and each of our academic colleges and units. We'll be submitting on the 28th of December a revised budget to the university main system, and that will go before the Board of Trustees FFT committee in January on the 12th. Once we have their feedback and input and their approval, we sharing broadly with the campus what that budget looks like. We hope to work with FIPSI as well so that they understand what decisions are needing to be made and how we move forward as an organization. And I should just leave it as this is just the start. We'll be, as soon as we're done with FY23, we'll be jumping right into FY24. So you'll get the opportunity to talk about budgets and look at spreadsheets with me. And if anyone's interested in engaging, I'm always looking for a good financial modeler to jump in and help us out. So thank you.
I'm going to call you back to answer that one. So isn't Kelly quite amazing? 4 weeks. This is a serious challenge for us. And as I look around the room and see a representative group of people here and know that across the 205 folks that were online, the last I checked, I know that people are taking this all very seriously, will put their very best thinking to work together to be sure that we stay focused on our goal, which is to serve the students of the University of Maine, the University of Maine at Machias, and the state of Maine as well as we possibly can. And we have seen budget challenges in the past. We have weathered them. And I'm extraordinarily impressed by what Kelly has already been able to bring to the conversation. And so we will just keep going with this. And I thank you all in advance for what we all know will be a difficult few weeks coming up. And also ask you to put as much energy as you can, not just to that challenge that we face mid-fiscal year, which is very hard. People have planned for the year. And so you hit this kind of a situation mid-year, and it's very difficult. At the same time, 24 is coming. And that's our chance to say, okay, what's next? How do we continue to grow strategically? How do we make realistic projections and work with those? And frankly, how do we tell the story, as Norm has noted, to make sure that the people of Maine and well beyond understand this incredible university and find a way to come here and make this a part of their professional pathway. So with that, ending with a good news slide, because there is an abundance of good news here always, and it's important to stay focused on that. We have a new campus director coming on board very shortly. We know the date, Heather, pretty soon. Oh, it's
December
right there,
19th.
December 19th. Dr. Megan Walsh coming to us from St. Bonaventure, and coming with great energy and eagerness, and our colleagues in Machias, we know will welcome Megan and see more great things coming at the University of Machias. Jeremy Pena, our World Series MVP, UMaine alum Black Bear baseball player. Norm likes that. You know, I think things are happening with our athletics search. The Collins Center for the Arts won the Bangor Regional Commerce Regional Chamber of Commerce Spirit of the Region Cultural Award. Again, pointing out the incredible impact that we through this university are able to have on the people of Maine and this part of Maine, and some good new rankings for UMaine and UMaine Machias in various annual college guides, including most recently some excellent news for the University of Maine at Machias in U.S. News and World Report on their is it number 66 ranking in social mobility. A very impressive story that resonates, of course, with for anyone who has visited UMaine Machias. You understand the commitment of that community to helping their students move to next levels. So many good things going on here in the University of Maine at Machias. Challenges that we want to continue to engage you with and on, and seek your good ideas, your fantastic suggestions for how we go, and your comments if you see us going in some way that just, you know, you have concerns. We need to be able to hear that from you. How will that work? Well, I'd like to invite you to my upcoming open office hours, November 22nd. I will be in the FFA room in the Union that morning from 9 to 10, taking a leaf out of the Chancellor's book. He has been holding these open office hours to very good response across the system. So I will do that too, and be there with the chance for you to speak. Drop-in session, no need for an appointment, simply come by. And I'll be happy to talk with you more. We'll be doing those then, if that goes well, which I'm assuming it will, we'll do those on a monthly basis throughout the spring semester. I want to say something about office hours. Pre-pandemic, I did also do a version of office hours, and it was through the office hours and a conversation with a student who was doing a class project that we re-embarked on the work to rename CC Little Hall and found the name Beryl Warner Williams Hall. It was an office hour idea that led us into that path. And so these are very important opportunities for us to hear from folks and to move ahead. We also want to try to stay positive. We need to be prudent. We need to ask what each of us can do here. You heard Kelly urging our faculty who have externally funded awards, grants, if you're able to spend those dollars, which is the work of the grant, of course, but sometimes people, you know, don't always get to do that as quickly as they would like. That actually generates indirect cost return, which is part of helping us to balance this budget. So that's one of the suggestions. We know that our faculty and our staff, all of our faculty and our staff get high marks for how welcome and supportive they are, how welcoming and supportive of our students they are, and that needs to continue. Our students have chosen us, and we are offering them this first-rate education and experience, and that will continue, of course. And think about any other creative solutions that you have. When I last looked, we had one question. Have there been some more? Nope. So I'm going to leave this with Kelly. It's a Sodexo question. And thank you all so much for being here. And again, you all know my email address, joan.freeneymundy@maine.edu. reaches me directly, and the UMaine president reaches me pretty quickly too. So be in touch.
All right, well, thank you for this question. I'll go ahead and read the question. So will the new food service be purchasing food from the local Maine farmers still with Sodexo? Yes, the answer is yes. We'll have the same expectations for Sodexo that we have for ourselves for local purchasing of Maine food.
Any questions in the room? I could ask you a question. Nothing else there?
Nothing.
Okay, we have one. Yes, Dean Haddad.
I'd invite Norm Jones, if he would, to say a little bit more about how he foresees the effort to increase yield during the spring semester and what we can do to help with that.
Thank you, Emily. Again, what can you do to help in terms of recruiting?
Yield in the spring.
Yield in the
specifically,
spring
since
is,
you'd
and
identified
reaching
that.
out to our new students. Well, I think the main thing is creating a system, a structure, a path by which you can communicate with those accepted students. In the spring, there's normally acceptance student days. Talked with Chris today, our director of admissions. We have those scheduled, and we will reach out to each of you to give you those dates. But overlaying on those normal acceptance student days, as well as regional sessions, there's 12 of them scheduled, in-state and out-of-state, inviting parents and students to come and talk with the staff and anyone that can go with us. Here again, to keep that communication. These students and parents, there is so much noise out there in terms of going to college. You're challenged with the fact that community colleges are free in the state of Maine. That's going to affect, I think, all of the four-year schools, quite honestly. I think the first year, but I think that too, as I said to the staff, I said, we're going to lean into that. We lean into that in a way of connecting this wonderful faculty with students, talking about the sense of place, talking about the success, the stories that I see coming out on the news that has to do with this institution is phenomenal. And I've asked the staff, I said, when you see something like that, post it, share it. This is about sharing the story of University of Maine and University of Machias. So that's one thing, Emily, that we will be doing. We will be inviting probably faculty to come with us to those evening area receptions for families, as well as when they come on campus, giving you an opportunity to actually show parents and students the wonderful programs that you have. We need to be, my goal for this institution is to become a national institution. You have the basis there. There's no doubt in my mind. I have served over double-digit institutions in my career. This is the real deal. University of Maine, University of Machias, you have what it takes. You have the infrastructure, you have the intellect, and you have the programs that are cutting edge. We've got to keep that narrative together, push that out to families, and make sure that we're in that choice set. That this is a place where you can grow and develop and define tomorrow. I love that. I love that tagline. It's wonderful because what it says, we promise you. Any tagline should have a promise behind it. And this promise is to you, we're going to have you position yourself to define not only yourself, but also the things that you touch in your community and as you go into your career. So we'll be reaching out with specifics with faculty, but if there's any questions or anything that we can help you with, we would be glad to come and do that. I know Matt, who's over our social media, has already been with one college to help your social media people. How does that fit in the conversation? We will share that plan with each of you as to the timing in terms of the spring yield process for sure. This is all hands on deck. This is leaning into that challenge of at least, if we increase yield 1%, it's 150 students. If we retain students, 1 more %, that's a lot of money. And I know Kelly has that number. So if we nibble at the edges of this, I think it'll happen. It'll happen quickly.
Thank you, Norm. And on that optimistic note, we'll go on. There are a couple more questions now, so thanks for bringing in the questions. One is about where do we stand on the copier printer contract? So I don't know if everybody knows the context for that question, but I'm going to put Tom Drake on the spot. Tom, are you out there?
I sure am.
Tom, introduce yourself, please, and explain a little bit about what this is about and where we are on it, please.
Sure. Tom Drake, the recently positioned Director of Campus Technology for UMaine and UMaine at Machias. So the copier contract was finalized the end of September. We now have a contract with Xerox, and we will begin. Xerox was on campus for both campuses, Machias and for UMaine, between September and October to do assessments, walkthroughs, and identify all of the areas of opportunity of what we currently are using for devices, and looking at opportunities for improvement. So thinking back to the budget situation, this is really an awesome opportunity to begin to look at these devices, and we will begin doing so as we start reviewing the assessments and working with committees such as the FITS committee as part of the Faculty Senate IT portion to start looking at strategically placing devices and sustainability, looking for efficiencies as we begin moving forward to start ordering devices and looking at deployments to begin at the beginning of the calendar year. So January, February, and then carrying on through probably through the end of the academic year into June.
Thank you so much, Tom. I'll just relate that I worked at an organization where we made this kind of a transition. It was not a popular one, I will say that. However, literally weeks after the printer in my office was taken away and I was told that I would go use the centralized printer down the hall, I found myself being much more mindful of when I needed to print something, saving paper, found myself getting in some steps, actually talking to colleagues occasionally that I might meet rather than just being kind of focused in my office. And it very quickly became a completely normal part of our workday. That doesn't mean it's an easy transition, but a lot of organizations are making this very prudent kind of move toward many sorts of important goals, including some savings, sustainability, and many others. So I thank you, Tom, for being honest with us about where we are, and know that all of you will weather this one way or another. So that's good. There's one additional question for Kelly. Should budget managers be prepared for across the board budget cuts over the next couple of weeks? So Kelly, remember 4 weeks she has been here.
Hello to all the budget managers out there that I have not met. I look forward to working with you. Over the last 2 weeks, I've had the opportunity to meet a number of you along with deans, cabinet members, and other administrative leaders on campus to talk a little bit about your budgets to start my learning process. The answer is no, we're not going to be sending out across the board cuts. We will be talking with each units around where we have some strategic opportunities and talking to you about some goals for units, but we'll be doing that at the dean and cabinet member level to talk about where we have opportunities in each area, but you will not see an across the board email out to you each.
I would just add to that, you know, part of the challenge of a mid-year challenge of this sort is that it's mid-year. We are still, numbers are changing. Enrollments are still not fully settled for spring, for example, and we need to be able to look at that. And the mention of retention is something we should have in mind. That's really quite key for us. And we want our students to have that path to success on many other areas as well. So appreciate the question, appreciate the implication here that we all will need to work on it, but we're going to stay as strategic as we possibly can through this. I don't see more questions. We had more time allotted, so I guess we give you back some time, the gift of time. And thank you so much, all of you, for coming. Give us feedback on how you think this went. Let us know if our various ways of trying to be sure that we are engaging with and communicating with the campuses and their communities, make sure that that we hear your other ideas about how to do that well. But I thank you for this, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks all.